it's Calxiyn here, and we have Al here with us today, which is nice. If you guys enjoyed this video, remember to pledge to us on Patreon and also join our Discord server. The Discord is free, the Patreon is not. Also, welcome, you 60 new subscribers, or whoever, I guess. If you subscribed recently, hi. If you didn't, we got a lot of subscribers over the weekend, which is why I decided to add some new videos to the week, because I realized that, like, a lot of our videos were paid Patreon videos about John, and that wasn't working out in terms of, like, I didn't want to be like, oh guys, our new, like, 60 valued subscribers, here are 4 videos about John in 1 week. Like, no, please no. So anyway, we have Al here with us.
Hello!
Yeah, you didn't want 5 videos about John either, did you?
I am not partner of this channel, and so I am not really qualified to tell you what you should or should not do.
But should we do 5 videos about John in 1 week?
Oh, hell no.
Okay.
You shouldn't do 5 videos. No, it's okay. You can do 5 videos about John, but just not all at once.
Exactly.
And not weird crack theories.
Well, you guys will see what we're talking about. Don't worry. Anyways, alright, so we're here to talk about Qrow today, who's not John.
That is true, that is true.
Luckily.
Although, if you look at these particular lines, you might find...
I hate you.
In fact, Jean from the future.
I knew you were gonna do that. Anyways,
it's in the facial structure.
I wouldn't be surprised.
See it.
But today we are talking about Qrow. And
yes,
so I know that you have some points for our topic, which is basically today why Qrow trusts Ozpin. And, like, why, when Raven is so, like, unloyal to Ozpin and, like, says all this shit about Ozpin, Qrow is like, I still like him, it's okay. Like, you know what I mean? And so, there you go. So, if you wanna tell us about that, Al, because you're our guest,
okay.
So you can go first.
Okay, so, I think it comes down to sort of 2 main areas. His first upbringing, and, how, sort of, Ozpin's cause and how Qrow fits into that.
Okay.
So we know that he came from the tribe, who he's, you know, described as little more than murderers and thieves. And we know he has no particular fondness for them. And he probably, you know, we know he's been there his whole life, he's grown up in that environment, and he even went to Beacon to learn how to kill other huntsmen. So he's not had anything else in his life other than the idea of murdering people for shits and giggles, supplies, whatever the hell it is the tribe does, for the most part. And so when they go to Beacon, he sees sort of a new sort of side of life. He gets to see what being a huntsman is like, and sees a new path he can take, a different way he can go. Mm-hmm. And then that sort of gets amplified when he gets brought into Ozpin's inner circle, when he's drawn into the Ozluminati with the rest of Team Stark, and learns about, you know, Salem, the crazy person who may be destroying the world, maybe destroying humanity. Definitely is somewhat connected to the Grimm, who have been terrorizing everyone since forever. And so he's come from this sort of dark background. He's got a semblance which does bad things entirely, and he's given a chance to do something different with his life. He's given a chance to, instead of taking away from the world, to give something back to it, to protect it, and to put that terrible semblance of his to some good use.
Mm-hmm. And, like, I was kind of, because we did this video where we were kind of comparing Qrow to Blake, because we were trying to kind of see who everybody in Team RWBY is related to Team Stark. So, like, Ruby as Summer, Yang as Ty, like, all of that. And so when it came down to, like, Weiss being Raven and then Blake being Qrow, like, I think that was kind of the deciding factor for us, is that, like, Blake kind of has seemed to go through the same thing, because, like, she was just like, I was a terrorist in the White Fang, and Ozpin's like, okay, but that's fine. Because, like, Ozpin's seen worse at this point. Like, he's just like, don't worry, like, we've had some bandits, but, like, you'll get to that later, you know? And so I feel like that, in that regard, it's almost history repeating itself, because Blake kind of is also from this, like, questionable past where they may have murdered some people on a dust car. And so I feel like with that, at least, we kind of can see that, like, Blake was also sort of given a second chance, and she wanted that second chance to improve, and you can kind of see how Qrow would also want that, because they're in very, like, similar situations, and depending, like, I don't know, like, depending on how his family went, I guess, because Blake seems to have loving parents, and so her decisions were very questionable, let's say, like, for her to, like, suddenly go off and be like, no, Mom, I want to join the White Fang, like, and so, I don't know, like, a lot of people have this headcanon that, Raven and Qrow's parents were really shitty, and that kind of, like, I feel like that's probably true, considering, like, if you have a child and all that they can do is, like, bad luck, like, I don't know, it kind of makes sense that maybe you'd be a little shitty, and just, like, because even the bad luck, like, even though the bad luck does benefit other people, obviously, like, when Raven has such a good semblance, it's not exactly ideal, is it? Like,
especially when, you know, you have to bear in mind they all live in a camp together, just him being there makes stuff go wrong, like, things will randomly catch fire or fall over, and
breaking coffee tables,
yeah,
like...
breaking coffee tables. Rip coffee table, he would missed.
And so I feel like... Also, I like how Nora, after that happened, she was like, good luck with that. Like, it was just such a... Like, it was such a clean line, and, like, I didn't realize it at first, and then I was like, oh, that's funny. Jokes are so funny when you have to explain them. But anyways, yeah, I don't know. I feel like he's kind of like that, and I feel like that... Because Raven's leading the tribe, and so they're twins, right? So there isn't, like, a hereditary birth order that we can kind of look at. But in my mind, what would have happened would be that, like, Qrow is kind of a little bit of a fuck-up. Like, he has a questionable semblance at best, while Raven has a really good one. She is all for killing people, but as soon as they send Qrow to Beacon, he's starting to get a little soft on us, and so...
To be honest, I don't think he particularly enjoyed what he was doing anyway.
Exactly.
I don't really have a basis for that, but I don't... Nothing about him really says to me that he was super into the whole killing people thing in the first place.
And so I feel like what happened was, like, they're like, okay, Raven's gonna get the tribe, and then Qrow's like, wait a second, what? Like, even if he didn't originally give a shit, like, I feel like that's such a sibling thing. Like, I know, like, if my mom ever, like, offers something to my sister first, and then, like, not to me, I'm like, well, why don't I get one? Or, like, why didn't you ask me first? Or, like, I'm the oldest, why didn't you ask me? But obviously they're twins, so that doesn't really happen. But, like, I feel like even if Qrow didn't exactly, like, he'd be like, well, I didn't want to be with you guys anyway. Like, I feel like, because that's such a teenager thing to do, and they are still kids. Like, obviously, grown-ass man Qrow wouldn't be doing that now, you know what I mean? But I feel like back then, he may have been a little salty if they were like, well, Qrow, like, you're getting a bit too soft on us. Raven is gonna be, like, the leader of the tribe, and he would have been like, grr, or whatever teenagers say. I don't know. I'm 18 now. I don't know what teenagers are. Who's that?
I mean, you are one, still.
Okay, still.
So am I.
Anyways, but you know what I mean. And so I feel like there would have been that saltiness, even if Qrow was just like, well, they're all a bunch of murderers and thieves. I didn't want to leave that or lead them or whatever. And Summer would be like, are you sure? Because you kind of seem like you wanted to. And so, or whatever conversation. We totally needed a Stark flashback because, like,
yep.
I need grumpy, like, teenage Qrow not getting, like, not being the heir to the tribe or whatever, being a little salty about it. And then, I guess, because in our Stark video, we compared Weiss to Raven, right? And so we can kind of compare Weiss's situation back to Whitley to an extent. I don't think Qrow is as shitty as Whitley, like, whatsoever.
No,
but you kind of have,
nice,
like...
I think Qrow is probably a reasonably nice kid, all things considered.
Yeah. And so, like, you kind of have, like, I am the heir to the Schnee Dust Company. Like, Weiss's sort of attitude back then. Like, I could see Raven being a bit cocky about it. Like, maybe in her old age she's mellowed out, but I can totally see her being like, well, I am the heir of the tribe, Qrow. You will listen to me. And then Qrow being like, well, fuck off. I don't care. Or whatever. But I totally do think that there is, like, that family, like, just... that he was in the tribe and he did do some bad things, and then Ozpin was kind of like, hey, listen, you don't need to be this person, you can come with us and save the world, and, like, I feel like that's some, like, young idealism that would have totally got him involved, because, like, I don't know, like,
sure.
I can only speak for me, and then with the teenage characters we've seen in the show, but you see kind of how fast RWBY and Pyrrha kind of jump in to be like, I'm gonna save the world, like, I'm gonna stop Cinder, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, because
and even if they don't mean to be, I don't want to say cocky about it, but like it is an idealistic sort of way of thinking.
They're happy to say, you know, maybe I'm not strong enough yet, but I will rise to the challenge and I will do something.
So I feel like Qrow kind of fell into that, and it wouldn't be hard to either,
Raven
right?
was unwilling. Yeah, where Raven was just sort of, this isn't my problem. I'm not dealing with this.
Yeah.
I can't. You couldn't do it, Ozpin. You've been doing this for literally forever.
And we also kind of have to think of, like, I guess the rest of the team, because at first Raven may not have been totally on board with it, but I also see Raven as like, well, if I get to spend more time with Ty, because I want that ass, you know what I mean? Like, because eventually they did have to date, or at least, like, they fucked at least once to get Yang, you know what I mean? And so, like, we also have to think about the influence of the team, and so I feel like with Summer, like, if Summer was anything like RWBY, it would have been super easy for Qrow to be like, yeah, we're gonna go save the world, because, like, that's just kind of the effect that RWBY has on people. It's this, like, I don't know, childlike innocence of, yeah, like, we're gonna be the heroes sort of thing, and so, like, if Summer was, like, anything remotely like that, or if Summer was anything remotely like that, I see how Qrow could get wrapped into it, and the same with Ty. Right, because Ty is also sort of the happy-go-lucky Yang type character, like, before Yang, like, got her arm cut off. And so, when you kind of, I don't know, when you consider that, it's not hard to see how Qrow was influenced, because it's not just Ozpin that we're kind of talking about, right?
It's
like,
everybody
it's
else
also
around
the
him.
team, and then everybody else who's influenced him exactly, like his family.
And to be honest, Raven probably was sort of the person who was most thinking about, you know, the tribe and going back.
Yeah. And I feel like that's kind of like Weiss to an extent, but I'll talk
yeah.
about that more.
Yeah, sort of, yeah, Weiss and sort of the whole SDC thing. Yeah, Raven definitely had a lot, probably, I say definitely, I will say probably, you know, she was like, I lead our people now in Volume 4.
Yeah.
So she obviously places a lot of respect and priority on, you know, you know, her role in the tribe and leading it and carrying it forward, where
And
Qrow
obviously,
clearly was a
like,
bit ambivalent.
Weiss still has that attached to her, even though they know that all this stuff is going on in the world. She still, like, wants to bring a good name to the Schnee Dust Company. She still wants to eventually go back to lead the Schnee Dust Company, I think.
Yeah,
anyway, right now, Whitley was gonna be made heir, and they were gonna be like, oh, well, you know, like, Weiss went crazy, but now, if anybody ever sees that Weiss is not going crazy and is, in Mistral, that's gonna be a problem, and so she still may be able to inherit things. But Atlas, as an arc, I feel is like 3 volumes away, so we can calm down with that. But I do feel like it is kind of similar, just because, like,
Definitely.
Blake and Weiss both have something to lead. Like, Weiss has the company, and then, like, Blake has the White Fang, and so I feel like that it could have been, I don't know, like, a similar situation with Qrow and Raven, that Raven and him, like, I don't know, maybe Qrow was like, well, now, like, I can lead the tribe in a new direction because we know all this shit. Like, we know about Salem, and, like, we can recruit them and try to get them to help us. Like, he had maybe all of these ideas, at the beginning, but then, kind of like because the menagerie people, like Blake said, they don't want to fight anymore, they just want to be left alone, and I feel like that's kind of where the bandits are, and so Qrow may have been like, yeah, like, we can get all the bandits together, and we can get them to fight against Salem, like, we can do it, like, in his young, emo, idealistic youth, and then, like, Raven was like, how about we don't do that?
It's like, haha, no, that's not what we do.
And then something else, like, that I was thinking about was that, with Summer, I guess, just that, now that, like, because this is, what we've been talking about is kind of a teenage Qrow, but, like, what is getting Qrow to stay right now? And I think that one of those things is definitely Summer, because even in Red Like Roses, she tells RWBY that she doesn't want RWBY to fight in vain and all of this stuff, and that probably also applies to, like, anybody else that's trying to get involved, and so I feel like at this point, like, Qrow would feel like he's abandoning Summer, and then Summer died for nothing if he doesn't at least continue to try and devote himself to this, no matter what Ozpin is doing. Like, he can't just give up now because he's lost so much. And not just Summer, but also the team. Like, because Team Stark got ripped apart, and we can assume, like, for a number of reasons, but if it got ripped apart for this, and, like, they don't win, then what was all this for? And then, like, even the greater, like, kind of like you said, like, humanity? Like,
yeah,
you know?
like, there's too much at stake. He doesn't feel like he can run away from that.
Yeah, and I also feel like, where would he even go at this point? That's the thing, like, I feel like when you're, and I feel like that's the thing with a lot of the White Fang members, too, is like, okay, so you've been working with Ozpin for the past 20 years of your life, at least, because he's at least 40. So, where do you go from here? Like, where are you going next? Like, you can't just, if Qrow left, he has like 3 options, okay? Like, his huntsman friends, who all seem to be dead or something, judging by previous episodes. Yeah, they're not gonna help him. He could go back to the tribe, but that's not gonna help.
Yeah, tribe or freelance, he doesn't like the tribe, so he's not going back there. And
even with freelancing, as a huntsman, like, yeah, there's that, and then there's also, like, everything will go back to Salem. Like, if there's a giant Nukalave, like, torturing a village, Salem probably made that, and so now he knows all this information. It's kind of like the Matrix. Like, after you find out that you're in a virtual reality world, like, can you go back? Can you, like,
nothing is the same.
Exactly, and so I feel like that's kind of where Qrow is, and so I understand why, like, he may, like, even though Ozpin may be doing some sketchy things, because I don't think that Ozpin's necessarily entirely evil.
He just does what he has to do for
and it's been 1,000 years. Like, he's probably seen a lot of people go down for this cause, and so at this point, it's almost like the needs of the many versus the needs of the few. If a few more students have to die so they can actually save the world this time, and, like, again, 1,000 years is a long time. Like, I feel like they're super desensitized, if anything, to death at this point, and so
it's just another name on the list, right? He's admitting that he's made
more
mistakes than any man.
It may be just like that too, to an extent, just because, like, I don't know, growing up with all of these, like, people dying around you because you're a bandit, and, like, all of that stuff. Like, he at this point may be like, yes, like, the ends, like, it justifies the means, you know what I mean? And so, just because, like, again, if Summer is dead, and, like, Ty has kind of bowed out, and Raven has kind of bowed out, like, what else is there to lose for him, anyway? Like, I'm sure he cares about, like, Ruby and Yang and all of that, but at the same time...
Now that they're involved, he has to protect them.
Yeah, exactly. Like, and so...
He has to stay just to make sure they don't suffer the same fate that...
And I think he always knew that they were going to. Like, that's the thing. Like, as soon as he, like, knew that Ruby, or that... Well, even Yang. As soon as he knew that Yang got into Beacon, and then even right after with Ruby getting accepted into Beacon, like, he knew right away that there would be no out. Like, even if he wanted one, I don't think that he could have it.
He's probably aware that Ruby is also, you know, Silver-Eyed Warrior.
Well, yeah, he kind of explained to her what it does. So I'm pretty sure he knows.
For a long time. So he knew from, you know, as soon as she was born, he saw that baby, he's just like, I know what's gonna happen to you, kid.
Yeah, like, I didn't even think about that, but yeah, it even goes farther than just Ruby being accepted. Like, Ruby just existing in general, I feel like.
From birth, she was set down a path.
Yeah, and so I feel like even if he wanted to leave then, like, maybe he would have bowed out with Raven, and he would just needed more time to consider it. Not, like, with Raven, but just bowed out in general. But then, like, Summer happened, and then Ruby happened, and then, like, when Ruby happened, he was like, okay, like, maybe not yet, and then Summer died, and, like, how can you come back from that, like, really? You know what I mean? Like, how can you then, like, oh, well, Summer's dead, and now her, like, daughter will go into the exact same situation if I make the same mistake twice, depending on if Qrow was actually, you know, there or not when Summer died, and so I feel like his guilt would have just overwhelmed him if he was like, nah, I'm gonna go at this point. Like, I feel like he'd never do that.
No, he couldn't.
And so, I guess that's pretty much it, because, like, you got the past, you got the present, and then just his worry for the future, right? Because now Yang's involved, and Ruby's involved, and all of these new kids are involved, and they look exactly like before, and I feel like it is kind of like him trying not to repeat the same mistakes again, because Stark is so much like Team RWBY.
Like his, you know, he probably does see an element of them in the new kids. He's just like, I'm gonna make sure you guys don't end the same way
as we did, exactly. And so I feel like that's super important. And like, as
they're also good kids. They've got a chance if they can get them trained up, then they have a shot.
And
So
that
it's
kind of like begs the question, though. I guess two
Can we
things,
win?
like, yeah, can we win? And then also, who is Team Stark's Team Juniper, if they had one? Because if history is
That's an interesting
repeating
question.
itself, I feel like that's something else that we should do a video on in the future. Like, was there another team and they all died? Because obviously there's the Juniper death theory where all of them will die because all of their inspirations passed away in some way. So Nora will get poisoned, Ren will kill himself, and then John will burn, because that's what happened to Joan of Arc. And so I wonder if maybe Team Juniper is already dead, like their
Nora
Team
gets
Juniper.
iced by Tyrion, Cinder burns Jean to death, and
then Ren can't deal with it, and so he kills himself. That's kind of the idea for that theory.
Yeah.
And so I wonder if
That's an interesting one,
there
actually.
was a Team Juniper to go along, because, again, if Team Stark was Team RWBY, every team, like, all the Team RWBYs have a Team Juniper.
Yeah, so it's kind of like a repeating cycle sort of thing.
Yeah, and
There's
so I
always-
wonder if they're all dead, like, the Team Juniper team of the past, you know what I mean?
Maybe. And hell, you could go so far with that, because you could ask whether that, you know, inspired Summer and Qrow and Ty to get involved with Ozpin, because they found out that their friends died because of this massive conspiracy against humanity itself.
Or, like,
and so
before there were 8, like, and then, you know, Pyrrha dropped, right? Summer dropped.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, they are losing numbers, right? And Pyrrha's been the first one to die. Well, Penny was too, but she wasn't Juniper. But, like, we can already see that maybe it's not, it's happening all over again. And, like, maybe Qrow also sees that, but, like, only time will tell, I guess.
Yep, and that flashback, which we better get.
I know. I wish that they'd do that on Christmas break instead of a chibi skit. But
still, How Raven Stole Christmas.
Oh my god.
Gives them-
I wish that they'd do
Cinder.
that. I don't
How
know.
Cinder Stole Christmas would be funny, because it's very, very in character with her chibi persona.
I could see Ashley Torchwick and Neo.
Or Torchwick.
But that would be a great way to introduce Raven into the chibi cast. And so, I don't know, who knows. But I could see that's more of a Torchwick thing, because I don't know, in The Grinch there's a Grinch, but then there's, like, the little dog sidekick that seems to know, like, way too much, and that's kind of Neo. Like, minus the dog part, but yeah. Anyways, if you guys enjoyed this video, remember to join our Discord server, so you can be graced with our presence. Al is also
Like,
on
comment,
there.
and subscribe.
Well, I never ask them to do that, like...
Well, I just did.
I just say, like, join the Discord server, become a Patreon, because I've assumed if they haven't subscribed already, they don't want to, so I'm not gonna ask. But anyway, I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. And, yeah, thanks, Al, for doing this with us.
Thank you for having me on.
And we'll see you guys later. Bye-bye.